Hello and welcome to a Very Explosion Network Christmas, our brand new podcast dedicated to the merriest of holidays, the festive season with films about Santa, snow, and being left home alone. Time of year we all come together and argue if Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley, and helping me grow my heart 3 sizes with Christmas cheer is Dylan Blight.
Oh my god. Die Hard is 100% a Christmas movie. We're not arguing about that.
Alright. Yes, so welcome to a Very Explosion Network Christmas, our new Christmas-based media podcast. So I guess the idea is every year we'll come together, we'll be talking about a bunch of Christmas movies, TV shows, but the major through line of this season, we're going to be talking about the Santa Claus. So we're going to be watching the 3 Santa Claus movies, of course starring Tim Allen, leading into the Santa Clauses TV series. Yeah, and we'll also be doing Spoilercasts here on a Very Explosion Network Christmas for Spirited, starring Ryan Reynolds, Will Ferrell, and Octavia Spencer, as well as Violent Night, starring David Harbour. So look forward to those in the coming weeks. So yeah. So on today's episode, we're talking about the first Santa Claus movie, The Santa Claus.
Dad, I heard a clatter.
Somebody's on the roof.
Maybe it's Santa.
Not now, Charlie.
This Christmas, Scott Calvin's getting into the spirit the only way he can.
Hey, you!
By accident.
If something should happen to me, put on my suit. The reindeer will know what to do.
It is Santa. You killed him.
Did not.
Check out Santa's sleigh.
When you put on the suit, you fell subject to the Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus? What does that mean?
It means you put on the suit, you're the big guy.
Originally released November 11th, 1994, directed by John Pasquin, written by Leo Benvenuti and Steve Rudnick, starring Tim Allen, Judge Reinhold, Wendy Crewson, David Krumholtz, Peter Boyle, and Eric Lloyd. By helping Santa Claus with the Christmas crisis, Scott unknowingly agrees to become the next Santa Claus. Now he has to deal with a suspicious former wife while trying to keep his secret safe. Dylan, do you recall the first time you watched The Santa Claus?
I don't recall exactly when the first time I watched this movie is. All I know is that I watched it a lot. Like, it used to be on TV growing up every single Christmas Eve. Like, it would start at, I don't know, I guess maybe 6:30, like right after the news. It used to, I think that's sort of how it worked out. And I remember being a kid, it would always be like, I'd watch the Santa Claus, the movie would finish around 9 or whatever, then it would be like, all right, time to go to bed. Actually, no, after it finished, they would have it would cut back to the news person, and they would do one of those videos, like, just doing a quick little update. Here's a video, like, you can see Santa Claus clearly leaving the North Pole here in this video.
Weather tracker.
Here's a weather tracker on Santa Claus. And then after seeing that, it was always like, all right, kids, time for bed now. So I don't know how many years exactly it was, but I definitely feel like it was on yearly for like 5-6 years or something like that, probably every single Christmas Eve, or at least that's how I felt. And then once I was older, had the DVD, I used to just watch it every Christmas Eve as like sort of my own tradition anyway. So I reckon this movie is probably one of the movies I've watched the most of in my life by far, which is a weird thing, but I guess it makes sense when it's like a yearly sort of tradition movie thing. But no, I don't know exactly the first time I watched it. Would have been young though, because this came out when I was like 2. So
yeah, I'm similar. Where this is a movie that was in constant rotation in Christmas period in my childhood. Whether it was playing on TV or whether we rented the VHS tape, I do remember those from the video store. Remember those, and yeah, it's a lovely movie. So obviously, you would put this on your nice list of Christmas movies.
Yes, definitely on my nice list of Christmas movies. I say it's my favorite Christmas movie, so to get that right out of the way.
Okay. I would also put it on my nice list of Christmas movies. But Dylan, what are your overall thoughts on the movie? Why is it your favorite Christmas movie?
I think as a kid, especially as I started to get like older towards maybe at like between 10 to 12, maybe we're in the age where maybe I'm starting to doubt Santa Claus, or like I'm getting to the age where it's like nearly time to be like, you know, the parents or whatever to be like, hey. And I can remember when I got told Santa Claus isn't real. That's all different. I actually know exactly when that happened. I think I might have been like 12.
You weren't
11,
3
maybe.
years old and didn't
No.
the whistle you asked for.
How old do you reckon you were? I reckon I was 11 or 12.
Probably like 27.
Yeah, that adds up. But I think like in that like brief period there, like towards the end of my childhood or whatever, and you had any sort of like inklings of doubt, I feel like this movie always like pulled me back in. Like I was always like, yeah, no, that makes sense. You know, like it had like it just filled you with the sense of wonder, I guess, of like Santa Claus, and the movie makes you believe, which I guess is the magic of it. I reckon that's the best thing it does. It doesn't, and the thing that some of the like this, we'll talk about it when we get to them. Like I think the second one's a good movie. The third one, the reason it's not is because it loses, I think, it just forgets like its own sort of magic, and it just sort of becomes a corporate product of what it thinks it is. It's just not, I don't think it's anywhere near, it doesn't hold the magic like this film does. Because this one seems very like honed into the idea of Christmas and Santa Claus, and the core belief you see in a lot of movies, the good Christmas movies, like I don't know, another one of course we've talked about before, Elf, which is a great Christmas movie as well, which is all built around, you know, you got to believe in Santa Claus and all this sort of stuff, and this whole film's just about believing in Santa Claus and sometimes believing in stuff that isn't real and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, anytime as a kid watching it was like, damn, Santa Claus might not be real. You watch this Christmas Eve, I'm like, all right, I was out, but you pulled me back in.
Yeah, I think the thing that is impressive about this movie, it was as a kid, I'm like, this is so cool, all this magical stuff, all this, you know, elves and flying and comet and all this stuff. As an adult, it does a great job of explaining why Santa Claus could be real. Like breaking down all these the theories as to why Santa Claus couldn't be real, and kind of giving some sort of explanation for it. Whether it's like, what happens if they don't have a chimney? Well, then he uses his magical powers and makes the chimney open up. How does he visit all the kids in one day? You know, some time shit.
Yeah, Charlie literally like boils it down in that one scene. He's like, I think there's some time continuum, whatever. I like other things too where it's like, have you ever seen a reindeer fly? It's like, yes. Well, I haven't. It's like, have you ever seen $1 million? No. Well, sometimes believing things, you know, it's fun.
Yeah, that's really great. I enjoyed the transformation like over the 11 months. I mean, it's not exactly clear the exact time scale of how quickly he starts turning into Santa Claus. He's really not helping himself by wearing so much red. I don't know if that's like a subconscious thing.
I think it's a subconscious thing.
Yeah. You know, he just starts wearing red all the time.
It's the same as his eating habits, subconscious thing. He just subconsciously starts becoming Santa Claus.
That's true. That's actually a solid point. Yeah. But yeah,
it's the same as like he doesn't train to be able to suddenly he's walking down the street and he's like, Katie, nice, Michael, bad. You know, like he gets Santa Claus. Like he gets everything stereotypical that is Santa Claus, being that the weight, the beard, the eating habits, the wearing color red, you know, the powers. Like he just suddenly just gets it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. Like the whole legal element of like how traumatic this idea of him pretending to be Santa could be to a child probably plays even weirder, stranger now, because like we care so much more about people's mental health now, and like if you're purposely fucking with a kid, I mean that makes sense why they would not want you around. Also, they totally pulled that kid out of a soccer match in the middle of a soccer match. You couldn't let him finish playing the soccer match?
Yeah. It's,
now that team's down a player.
they're down a player. They had to forfeit after that. So
it's pretty bad. Neil's the worst. I also love like just the opening of all the single dads at Denny's. It's like the most depressing Christmas Eve you could possibly have. Also, obviously, we open with we haven't even talked about him like getting the card, which is the movie opens with him killing Santa, which is a bold choice for a Christmas movie. He's not even dying. He's like, maybe they could have saved him. He's wiggling his arm there for a bit while they're talking to each other. They could have like checked on him, take him to a hospital, called somebody. But yeah, I enjoy the series of events that lead him to wearing that suit, and the eventual reveal that he has to become Santa Claus now, and it's very fitting for the growth of Scott Calvin through this film. It's quite enjoyable to watch.
It's funny because the whole film's name's like built on this like funny little joke that kids definitely won't get.
Yeah,
like it's the Santa Claus. So
Claus with an E.
Claus with an E. And I kind of think it's entrapment having that card with the text so small. Really,
Yeah, it is. I mean, the fine. Well, it's just like the fine print for any of these, Apple logins or that you just agree to them without reading anything. So I mean, very much the same.
I guess so.
It isn't as hidden though. So
no.
I think. Obviously, the CGI is reasonably dated, but I think it looked pretty impressive for its time.
Yeah, I don't think it looks particularly bad. I mean, you don't get that too much in it. The few shots of them flying, I feel like looks fine. The beard stuff looks a bit dated, like when you see those transformations, but still like doesn't look the worst. I feel like there's anything that stands out particularly bad. Like, definitely some dated stuff, but nothing that you're like, oh, that looks bad. I'm sure you could see worse looking stuff than that now, but
yeah, probably
most of the special effects in this you could do yourself at home these days, which is the thing.
Yeah. Obviously, Tim Allen. I think he's really good. I think he's not exactly playing the Tim Allen I don't know. Obviously, this is the height of Home Improvement. I think off the top of my head. So I don't think there's one like raunchy joke. It's like was it something about
it means like calls a girl nice?
No, it's something about flying high and saying I was alive in the 60s or something like that. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, he goes to go down a chimney or whatever, and then he's like, oh, I lived through the 60s or something like that.
Yeah.
There's that, and then there's the girl where he's like, Missy, nice. And she's like, in your dreams, playboy, or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like Tim Allen's probably one of the best Santa Clauses. Even though he only plays Santa Claus for like half the movie.
Yes. But by the end, he's great.
Yeah.
The full beard and everything. Like, he looks the part, and he's got the ho-ho-hos down, and...
Yeah.
That one scene, I always remember one of my favourite scenes of this movie as a kid was just that slow motion where they're like walking up the hallway shot. I'd never seen anything like that before. I know it's a rip-off of the action movies now, like in retrospect, and they're just doing it in this for the Santa Claus, which is funny. Yeah, like, they're just the slow motion walk up and then the dancing thing.
Yeah.
But like, when I watched it as a kid, I didn't know it was like sort of ripping off or like parodying all the action movies and stuff. I just thought it was cool, so...
And that's why it's cool, because it's ripped off from all the action.
Yeah, true.
We also have the most traumatic thing you could possibly see in a Christmas movie: Santa Claus being pulled away in a police car. The whole sequence with the police is very amusing. I mean, them rounding up a bunch of Santa Clauses just on the street, and just that one Santa Claus walking down the street, and like one police car comes up, and then like 3 police officers jump out of the bushes. And then you've got the police lineup of like 6 different Santa Clauses. Very amusing. And then we also find out tinsel has other purposes.
I like that part where they're like sitting there and then they get word that like they got a GPS tracker on the sleigh or whatever and it hasn't moved or him or whatever. There's like, it's time to call in the elves. It's like
Yeah.
evacuation or, like some weird acronym.
Very funny. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about the Santa Claus?
I always like the scene at the end where they finally realize it's him. Like you do get that happy ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, the acceptance. Like, I find it very funny when he's just like staring at him. Whatever. It's like
Santa.
Oh, like it's a whole like thing. It's I quite like the way that whole plays out. So, no, it's just a really good, easy watch movie. Stands the test of time. The movie's quite old. I mean, it's what, like nearly 30 years old or 30 years old? I don't know.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy. Yeah, like 28 years old, I guess. Yeah. So, crazy.
All right. Let us know what you think of the Santa Claus by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump to Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at a very Explosion Network Christmas, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Tell people about this show. Leave us 5 stars. Anywhere you can leave 5 stars. And if you like this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support. So next week we'll be discussing the Santa Claus 2. So be sure to watch that. Join us next time. Until then, remember, just because you can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist.